Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Holly, and today I am using a decal sheet from Maestra Creations. So this is a watercolor floral decal sheet. The number, if you go to her website, I'll have it linked below. It's 19ST is the name of this sheet. And to begin, I am just using my color wheel to see which colors to pull off that sheet and match up with some glitters. I want to do like a 2-color ombre. And so I'm just using my wheel to see which shades or tones of the colors I should use to make it look best. And so I'm going to spray paint an orange and turquoise color. So the spray paint I'm using is ColorShot, and I'm using Orange Slice and Mermaid. The Mermaid is a turquoise. And I am going to start the base of my tumbler by applying some epoxy, using the hang method with epoxy, and I am using a fast setting epoxy from KSRESIN Liquidy Split for my first color. So I'm going to spray paint my tumbler a 20-ounce Strawbler from the Stainless Depot company. I'm going to spray paint that with the orange and the blue, and then I'm going to use fast setting epoxy to apply my very first layer of glitter. So that first layer is going to be the fine glitters, and those glitters are Soul Child. That's the orangey, sort of like the burnt orange color, and then Caribbean Coast. And I'm just going to apply those back and forth, layering one color over the top until I like the blend. So starting with the darker color, I'm going to start at the base, tip my tumbler at an angle, about a 45-degree angle, I would say, sometimes more, depending on how fast I want that to fall and where I want it to hit. And then I go around the base all the way around the circumference first, and then I'll start to tip the tumbler and hit that glitter onto the where I've already glittered and let it gently fall down naturally, and then flip the tumbler around and then do the second color. So I'm going to do that back and forth until I like the blend. And it doesn't have to be perfect with this layer because I'm actually going to put another one over the top of it after this epoxy layer cures. And the second mix that I put over the top with my glitters is going to be chunky, and that should cover up any imperfections where the two shades didn't perfectly blend into one another. So I'm not too worried about being super meticulous and making that a perfect blend. After that first layer of glitter has been completely applied, I stuck it on my tumbler turner and just let it cure. Took a dry brush and then brushed off the loose glitters that were hanging. Now I'm doing another layer of epoxy, and over the top of this epoxy is going to go my chunky, is going to be over the top of this epoxy, I am going to apply the two chunky glitters that closely match the colors of the finer glitters that I already applied. Once I have those glitters on, then I am going to let it sit and dry again. It doesn't have to be completely cured before I add another layer of epoxy. I am using Flynn Sisters Supply Shop epoxy, and I'm just going to put that right over the top. So if I touch the tumbler and it doesn't feel sticky, it feels dry, that's when I know that I'm ready to apply another layer of epoxy. And I'm just going to apply that epoxy until smooth. I only needed one more layer, and then I did sand it, but before I applied my sticker decals or my vinyl decals, I made sure that I spray sealed it with a clear gloss 3 times to bring that shine back to the tumbler before I applied my decals. Because these are transparent, well, they're transparent, but they have a white, I guess you would call them semi-transparent. So there are portions of the decals that are completely see-through. So you will see the shine or the absence of shine coming up through the decals. So you want to make sure that you put that shiny base back on there before applying your decals. So I'm just sporadically trying to figure out where I want to place these, sort of all around the tumbler. I put one right in the middle at an angle, dividing the orange and the blue, and then the rest of them I'm going to place around to kind of, it doesn't have to be a perfect distance between each decal, but I don't want there to be any cluttered spaces or any negative spaces. Or I guess I should say not negative spaces that are too large. And then once I have those decals on there, I am going to spray seal 2 times with clear gloss and then put it on the tumbler, add another layer of epoxy, and let it cure. And I wasn't really sure after I added that layer of epoxy over the decals if I liked it just plain and I wanted to leave it like that. So I actually showed the picture to some coworkers and asked what they thought. And they said, I think you should just leave it instead of putting a decal or something. But then as I was looking, because I didn't have my mind made up, and as I was looking through my bin of vinyl decals and temporary tattoos and gosh, all kinds of stuff in there, I found the perfect tattoo to put on this tumbler. So you'll see that in just a second. But before I do that, I'm putting another layer of epoxy over the top of these decals. But I'm going to add, what is this additive? Oh boy, let me see what I have here. It is from PDB Creative Studios, and it is called Galactic Chameleon Flakes. So I'm using just a touch of Galactic Chameleon Flakes mixed in with my epoxy over the top of the florals and the whole tumbler. And that made, it just gave an extra shine and like color shift to those decals. So super pretty. I was digging and digging, and then I came across these temporary tattoos. So this giraffe has the same colors as the tumbler. Now, I know that when I put that giraffe on my tumbler, that a lot of that giraffe is going to disappear because it is a transparent tattoo like you would print on a clear water slide. So I know that a lot of it's going to blend in, and I thought that was perfect because I want the flowers on this tumbler to be the objects that stand out. Anything else I put on it, I want it to be muted. And so I knew I was going to take a risk. I wasn't really sure exactly how muted that giraffe would be on there. It could blend in completely and disappear and you wouldn't even know it was there. But it didn't. I applied it and it actually looks really good. So I'm super happy that I found that little giraffe. And then I thought, well, if I use this giraffe, what am I going to just stick a giraffe on it and put nothing on it? And so I thought that I would put some sort of saying or quote or something about, sticking your neck out or reaching for the stars or that kind of thing, because the giraffe has the long neck. And so I decided to put stand tall, aim high. And so I just printed on my Cricut design space the words stand tall, and then found the font that I wanted, that I loved. And then I copied it, and then I did the exact same thing with aim high, printed that on a foil adhesive and applied it to the tumbler in like a muted tone of vinyl or foil that matched the shade of the tumbler. So it all came together perfectly without that being the original plan that I had in mind. I actually didn't have a plan. So it all came together. Now, I know that the way I applied this decal or this tattoo was very careless, but I wasn't too worried about it. If this was going on to a base that was white, that wouldn't blend in very easily, I would make sure I took my time and did it right without just slopping the water on there and slapping the tattoo on there and then just, slip sliding around. But I didn't really care because all those, like I said, all those shades, those colors blend in perfectly with the tumbler, and the tumbler has a lot of glitter on it. So nobody's even going to know that that was not applied, very carefully. So here I am just finding the perfect font that I want to make the words stand tall and aim high. And then once I have that ready to go, I'm going to send it over to my Cricut machine, make sure that I measure where I want that decal to be. So I think I did like a 3x4 or a 3x, I think I did a 3x4. And then just print those out and get ready to apply it to my tumbler. This foil was an absolute pain in the butt to weed, and try to get to stick to my transfer tape, but I made it work. And so what I did is the stand tall, I decided to cut that in half, and I wanted that at an angle. If I just put it straight, you know, stacked on top of one another, it would look really weird. The giraffe is sticking straight up, and so you have that long straight neck. And then if you put the words straight up, it just looks too, I don't know, not interesting. So I thought if I put stand at an angle and then tall can sit horizontally, that would be a better look, more appealing. And then the aim high is just going to go vertically on the back, stacked just like it is. And then of course I always have to measure just to be sure that the distance is the same on the bottom. And before I applied these decals, I did put 2 layers of clear gloss over the top of that giraffe, just in case I applied the decal and had to remove it. I didn't want to rip up any of that tattoo. So that does have a clear coat, 2 clear coats of sealer over the top of it. So that makes the application of the vinyl much easier and less damaging. Okay, and after my foil adhesive is applied, I'm just going to look it over one last time to make sure everything is lined up, make sure nothing's poking out, make sure the lid, the decals are sitting at the front and the back of where the lid lines up, and then spray seal it 2 more times with Krylon clear gloss. And then this is the final layer of epoxy. So this tumbler has a layer of epoxy that I used to originally apply the fine glitter, another layer to apply the chunky glitter, another layer over the chunky glitter before I put the decals on, and then another layer over the decals, and then the 5th layer of epoxy. So this tumbler has 5 layers of epoxy altogether. And this was the final layer, and then it's good to go. And then I hit it with my torch really quickly. Usually I use a small handheld one, and I was really worried that, I mean, I'm putting a lot of heat on that epoxy, and I was worried that it was gonna buckle or fisheye. I got dang lucky. So I'm using my big, huge torch that puts out a massive amount of flame and heat, and this did not fisheye. So it turned out really pretty and shiny and glossy and beautiful and bright. And I love how the flowers pop and everything else is sort of muted underneath it, but you can still see the delicate expression of the giraffe. And it just, I love it. I just love it. So I hope you love it too. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments below, and I will link any related videos. Thank you so much for watching, and till next time.